I'm going to move on. We're going to have maybe an hour. All right. So we talked about economics as a study of choice. We choose to do things, benefit outweigh the cost. Hey, outweigh the cost. Hey, look at that. I can pick different colors now. Okay, good. And now the main thing about benefit and cost, this sounds simple, right? So you choose to do anything because the benefits outweigh the cost, and you have a bunch of benefits and have a bunch of cost, and you think about benefit outweigh the cost, and you think about maybe extending or extrapolating that into the economy. Like the economy might want to choose to do this because the benefit of the whole society outweigh the cost, or something like that. But the key is to all this is the ability to identify the benefits and identify the cost. Sometimes when you think about certain policies, and this is going to be applied to government policies for the most part, you tend to think of the benefits and the costs, and sometimes you misplace the benefits and costs in some way, and sometimes that's the problem, right? But in any case, not before, but the process of getting to identifying the benefits and the cost is plenty. Hey, hello, Rohan. I'm glad you're up. Other people at some point, they're gonna have to decide to show their face. I mean, look, it's hard enough this past years. You know, I've been teaching in class with the mask on, and for 2 years, 2 full years and a half almost, I've done that. And now, at least this is the good part about Zoom. You can see our faces a little, right? Okay, so before we try to really full-blown identify the benefit and cost, we have to talk about these things, which I call 5 principles. There are 5 of them. Probably not gonna get to all 5 today. So maybe 3, 4, depending, by the end of the class today, and then the rest on Thursday. But here are some key principles in understanding the benefits and the costs and making decisions and things like that in terms of the study of economics. For the most part, no matter what we learn in the next 12 classes or 6 weeks, if you really want an answer to certain things, like a quick off-the-cuff answer to any society or economic or social issues, come back to these 5 and you'll find some type of answer, maybe not 100%, in these 5 principles. It's very important to understand these 5 principles from the get-go. So I'll talk about one at a time, of course, but probably not all 5 today, right? So these 5 principles will tell you how to answer these questions, any social or any economic questions that you may have moving forward. So principle 1, I was going to say something. Now, I don't even have notes in front of me. And I usually don't. In class, it's like, you know, students know I don't have any notes in front of me, and they're like, what are you doing? You're going back and forth. And I still don't have notes, even on Zoom. Principle 1 is the principle of what we call the trade-off, right? And this has to do with the benefit and the cost that we talk about here, because the idea is that no matter what you do, no matter what you choose to do, as long as you choose to do something, there'll be something else that you choose to not do. That's what a trade-off means. Anything you choose to do has a trade-off lurking around the corner, waiting to be chosen, but not chosen. To choose to do something is to deny to do something else. To choose is to refuse. There's no way around it. And Rohan brought this up in terms of time. When he mentioned time, it gets to the gist of choosing to do things, because anytime you choose to do anything, it takes time to do anything. So therefore, the principle of trade-off applies at all time. There's a trade-off to everything, bar none. There's nothing that does not have a trade-off. No matter what you choose to do at any second of your life, you are refusing to do something. Choosing is refusing, right? So since economics talks a lot about choice, actually talks almost exclusively about choice, trade-off is the first thing that we have to realize and acknowledge. And this is why we keep saying nothing is free when we write down nothing is free. Where's nothing is free? It's nothing is free. It looks bigger now because I blew it up, but nothing is free. We really mean it, because the trade-off tells you that nothing is free. Anytime you do something, there's a cost to it, because there's some trade-off that you're making, right? So every choice is about trade-off. There's no, well, you know, I'm doing this because there's always benefit and cost. There's always benefit and cost, and the cost there is the trade-off. So I'm going to go to like number 2.
Same thing as like opportunity costs.
Opportunity cost is coming in part 2. So you people took micro, so you've been familiarized with the term opportunity cost, but I'm doing number 2 for opportunity cost. So the idea of trade-off is the idea of opportunity cost, correct? But opportunity cost is doing one step further. So actually 1 and 2 are kind of the same, but usually I put them separate just because I want to make certain points clear. Before I go to point 2, which is opportunity cost, that's Rohan, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So just I saw that, but I want to give the right credit. So when I say shoes, so before I go to number 2, I want to make another digression because this just popped up in my head. People talk a lot about choosing to do things and choice and things like that. So first of all, when we talk about choice, the only entity that can make any choice is the individual, right? You might hear terms when you take like management class or human resource class or marketing class, you might hear the terms of like group choice or something like that. So strictly speaking, no group can make choice, right? No nation can make choice. No government can make choice. Strictly speaking, the only entity that can make choice is the individual, right? So when we say, for example, the government chooses to, I'll go with what you were saying earlier, Jocelyn. It was the stimulus check. And you might say the government decided to just mail out the stimulus check to everyone and everyone's happy and, you know, go kumbaya or whatever. But technically, the government did not make the choice. It's each individual politician in the government body that make the choice to vote yes or no. They didn't make choice to send out the check. They just make the choice to vote yes or no, or whatever the hell they do in the democracy or whatever, right? So the point is that when we talk about choice, the choosing, when you say loosely, and again, this is why critical thinking is important and meaning what you say is important. When you say the government chooses to, it's just a shorthand for saying that, you know, each individual making certain choice, and then the government as a whole take this action. And even that is kind of weird because no entity can take action but the individual, right? So now back to this trade-off thing. If you say Penn State is making a decision to run this summer class, and actually this summer class could be canceled, right? If you could imagine only 2 students, maybe they see the name Oak and they're like, whoa, who's this guy? I don't want to take this class. And they just don't want to take the class, and there's only 2 students who took the class, they would cancel the class, right? And you might say Penn State decided to cancel the class. No, that's, strictly speaking, that's wrong. It's not Penn State because no university can make that. It's an inanimate object, cannot make decisions, right? So only individuals make choice. And in doing so, they think about the trade-off, namely the benefit and the cost. Now go to number 2. Opportunity cost, you mentioned, Rohan?
Yeah.
The cost of doing something. The cost of doing something is what you sacrifice to do it. And here's Rohan talking about time. You sacrifice the time. Time is an umbrella term, if you will. It's a more general term of what you, in order for you to do certain things, you have to give up the time. But what you do with the time is a different thing, right? And here is the term opportunity cost. Now, this, roughly speaking, is opportunity cost. So let me just write this in different colors, since I can. I hope and trust that if you took micro, you have heard of this term, opportunity cost. And most of you who are still here have taken micro, so you know what opportunity cost means. Can anyone define that for me? It's a little bit beyond sacrifice, but it's kind of the same idea. Can anyone give me some? Glenn is going to give me Alexa's definition again, but Maybe you can ask Alexa. Alexa, this opportunity cost. But can anyone give me the definition of opportunity cost? Have some good definition coming out of this, yes? If you know what it is, if you don't, that's fine. I'll give you the definition a little bit, but I just want to hear what you thought of opportunity cost when you know, given the micro class that you have taken. Yes, Glenn, I'm sorry.
The expense incurred by not taking an action.
The expense incurred by not taking an action?
Yes, sir.
Paid by not taking an action. So if you have an action A, if you don't take that action, the expense of not taking that action is the opportunity cost.
Yes, sir. And if I could follow on with a question, doesn't every benefit come with an opportunity cost? Or is it only one cost per benefit? With that idea with trade-off?
It could be many items for cost, but it would be only one action.
I see.
Right? Okay. If that answers the question, I'll clarify that a little bit too. But the expense paid by not taking an action, I'm going to have to take this not out, one, and two. Expense make it sounds a little bit financial, which I don't think you meant.
No.
Financial or monetary necessarily. Expense could be outside of dollars and cents, right?
Yes.
So dollars and cents plus non-dollars and cents. So it's dollars and cents plus non-dollars and cents as well. Like right now, I would argue that I'm giving up time with my kids, which you might not be able to put dollars and cents on that. Not to say that you don't, actually you do, but the point is that a lot of costs and benefits that are traditionally non-dollars and cents are included in here too. So the expense paid by not taking an action, it should be expense paid by taking an action, right? So let me go with this first. So there's a couple of actions you could have taken within this hour. We have one more hour of class left. Some of you say, no, it's 45 minutes. Okay, fine. 45 minutes of class left. I correct myself, whatever. You can take action A, B, C, D. A being, I'll go with C as class, which we all decide to do, apparently. A is sleeping. B is eating. D is shopping. E is TV or whatever. F for me is times with kids, which I choose not to do, right? What did we choose? It's obvious. We choose class. Let me see if I'm right here. Glenn chooses class. Jocelyn does. Ruhan does as well. Okay, so 3 of us, 4 maybe choose class, including me as well. Right? Here's the valuation, and here's the right term here, valuation. What is the value of class? Say out of 100, suppose it was, I don't know, I make this up, 92, and it's just for someone. I'm not identifying anyone. Suppose it was 92, right? Do you give up something else? Do you sacrifice for an hour? Nap. So here's Rohan. Rohan said, here's my sleep. It's worth 90. What is an A? Okay, so how do I pronounce your name? I'm gonna take a shot. Tinashe. She's here. Hey, I have 5 students now, up from 4. Okay, good. Tinashe said sleeping part A. And that's some valuation to A, right? It's obvious. There's valuation to all these, right? Correct? Isn't it true that when you do the class, you give up doing these things, right? So here's Tinash for, I'll do it for you. Louis, so TL, I'm doing your initial. And there's some other ones. So here's some other ones. Maybe eating is only 82. Shopping is 85. TV, you don't watch TV, 42. I just made that up. And you don't have kids, therefore 0. I made that up. I don't know if that's true, right? But the point is that all these are valuations of other activities, of any activities, right? What is opportunity cost? Opportunity cost is expense paid by taking an action. What action are you taking? It's obvious. Wow, it show all that. This action is what you're taking. See how I'm checking color? That's what you get, right? What is the expense paid? You're paying, Tinash, you're paying by not taking that, right? So here's her diagram. Benefit, cost, 92. This is the action. What action are you taking? You're taking C action, B in class. What is the benefit? What is the cost? The benefit is 92 because that's the value of the class that you get, right? What is the cost? The cost is 90, no? Because you have to give up sleeping, is that right? Hopefully she's still awake. She went back to sleep now. If she's still awake, then she'd be giving up that cost of 90, right? Get it? So back to the definition. Okay, thank you. Thank you for typing that. Okay, so back to the opportunity cost. It's the expense paid by taking an action. What is the expense paid by being in class? By being in class, expense paid was 90, right? 90 cost, expense. Right? The opportunity cost is, so let me give you a different, it's the same, it means the same thing. Different version of it is value of, so opportunity cost by definition, and before I even do that, I have defined a few things now. You're not gonna be successful in learning anything in this class if you just memorize or acknowledge even definition. It's all in the understanding. I could have stuck with what Glenn said by changing just that thing. That's the only thing I'm changing. It's actually expense paid by taking an action, right? But I'm going to change it a little bit just to clarify. I'm not saying that that's a wrong definition, right? But I want to work off of what I have in mind here. It's the value of the next best, or second best option. The value of the next best option, right? So now back to this, Tinashe. I'm gonna say your name wrong, and I apologize for that. I got my easy oak name here. So, but Tinashe said, well, I could do many things, among which is the class and the shopping and the TV and eating and sleeping. But my top two are class and sleeping. And when I do the class, I gave up the sleeping. It's the sacrifice, trade-off, right? Sacrifice, trade-off. The trade-off is the sleep that I have to give up. But opportunity cost, take it one step further, and it says it's the value of that, right? So what is the opportunity cost of coming to class? It's the 90, the value of sleep given up. Now, here's some dilemma that economists usually have. We just got done saying a lot of things are not dollars and cents. And we insist they're not dollars and cents, right? I mean, like sleeping might not be dollars and cents. You know, shopping might not be dollars and cents, or watching TV or whatever. But in the end, we're comparing something. And in comparing something, we have to have some numbers in mind. Right? So here's, that was Tinash. Here's Oak. Now I'll show you what I have. Class is, well, let's go with 95. My next best option probably is, see, now lifting his ass is worth a little bit more than sitting his ass down again, Glenn. See you later. Okay, so my kids probably are worth next, 90. And then shopping, I don't do that. TV, whatever. Eating, maybe. Sleeping, like right up there. So usually if I don't play with my kids, I would sleep. Eating is kind of up there too. Man, tough choice. Look at my valuation of things. But as it turned out, one thing emerged. The best choice is chosen, 95. Giving up 90, see? So for me, the benefit of being in class is 95, and the cost is 90, right? What is the opportunity cost of being in class? The value of the next best option. My next best option is the kids. Right? I sound like I'm being corny or whatever, but it's true. So the kids is next, but the point I want to make is this too. Can you see that this is kind of weird to say that class, to me, class is better than my kids? Being in class is better than being with my kids? Now, you see, this is why meaning what you say is important. Because if at any one point during this class, I were to tell you, hey, look, my kids mean everything to me. They mean the most to me all the time. I'd be lying, right? Because if that was true, I would not be in class right now, would I? Right. So you see, the gist of critical thinking is that when you say something and you say things like that, it can't be. Like sometimes I see the bumper sticker that says, "I'd rather be fishing," and the guy obviously is driving the car, and it says, "I'd rather be fishing." He's lying, right? Because if I do a diagram like this for him, here's the diagram: fishing, driving, talking on the phone. Fishing, driving had to be 90, and fishing got to be less, right? Because if fishing, God forbid, if fishing is more, if fishing is like 92, which is what he means by "I'd rather be fishing," he wouldn't be driving, would he? Right? So now come back to this. When you do certain things, it's got to be your best choice at always. Is it possible to have the same value for one important thing? Yeah, sure. So it might look like this. Okay, so some people always have this question. I answer many questions at the same time. Here's activity A, B, C, D, and E. Here's your evaluation. Here's 90, and here's 90, and here's like 42, 41, 40. Is it possible that two activities had the same valuation? That's your question, Rohan? Is it? No, Tinaj? Yes, it is. Okay, that's your question. Yeah, sure. So the question becomes, well, how do you decide to do things? I guess you toss a coin. One. Or two, if you insist that they're the same and you choose to do A anyway, so here's Tinaj, she's saying that A and B are worth exactly the same to me, and she chooses to do A, then by your action, I would say that A beats B. And I would insist that they're not the same. If they're the same, you would not be able to choose. You'd have to toss a coin, right? And in fact, I'll even do this. So suppose you insist, and this is why these are a factual type thing. So back to Tinaj again, and she said, here's activity A, activity B, here's 90 and 90, and she insists it's the same. Here's C, D, and E, and here's activity F, which is hidden in red. F is toss the coin before doing anything else. How about that? And in any event, you, Tinaj, you decided, I'm going to toss the coin because I don't know which one to do between A and B. Is that your point, Tinaj? I think that's your point, right? Okay, so you don't know what to do between A and B. And guess what you do in the end? You toss a coin. Then that mean that tossing the coin before doing things has 90 to 1 maybe? At least more than 90, right? Because you decided to toss the coin. So it sounds like it's a backward thing. It's actually not backward, because the point is that whatever you choose to do, and I don't even care what you choose to do. Now, I can keep making this stupid table. If you choose to do that, F, I don't care what F is. And if F has valuation of X, everything else has less than X, right? You get it? And if suppose you have two X's, like Tinaj might say, and you end up doing nothing, then this choice G, which is hidden, doing nothing. And that happens to be better than either E or F or something. Because in the end, even doing nothing is doing something, right? There was a Seinfeld episode. Is anyone a Seinfeld fan? I'm old here, so this is why I watch Seinfeld. If you watch like Seinfeld reruns, you might have seen this episode. So Seinfeld, if you know Seinfeld, Jerry. Man, I see no one flinching. No Seinfeld. But anyway, Jerry, it's a sitcom that in the 90s. If you're the young pups, you might not know this. So Jerry asked Elaine, "What did you do last night?" And Elaine said, "Nothing. I did nothing." And Jerry said, "It's got to be something. You can't possibly do nothing." And Elaine said, "Really, I sat on the couch and stared." And Jerry said, "Well, that's nothing." "No, that's not nothing. You're sitting on the couch and staring. That's nothing. There's something, right?" So even if you choose to do nothing, it just suggests that nothing beats everything else. Get it? Now back to this opportunity cost. What is the opportunity cost? The cost of doing something is the sacrifice, but to be more clear, the opportunity cost is not that. Where is it? Oh, not that that's wrong. The value of the next best option. So whatever you choose to do is what you choose to do. Back to O. Whatever you choose to do, that's the next best option that you give up, which in this case is F here, which is the kids, right? That you have to give up. So opportunity cost is the value of that, suggesting two things. One, opportunity cost is subjective. So I'm going to put subjective on there, because back to Rohan, back to Tinaj, you gave up sleep, you said? Do we all have the same valuation for sleep? No. Do we have the same valuation for shopping? What about kids? What about TV? No. So the value of things, and this is why sometimes the word expense is good. I mean, I'm not saying that that's wrong, but expense suggests maybe something more quantifiable. Now back to value. The term valuation suggests that everything here is subjective, right? I'm not judging your valuation of sleep or whatever. It's just your valuation is very subjective, one. And two, any other option that you did not choose can only be at best the next best. Now, I usually speak very fast, but when I slow down, students kind of know, well, that might be something important. And this is important. Any option you did not choose can be at best the next best, which means you always choose the best option, right? You always choose the best option by definition. And now, look, you may say, well, that's not true. Sometimes I choose a lousy option. Maybe. Like if I have A, B, C, D, and E, and F, and I'm choosing B, and that may be a lousy option. So maybe we'll come back and touch this in a little bit as well. But in any case, I'm always choosing the best option, at least the best option at the time, the way that I see it, right? Or else I would just not be choosing it. Glenn chose to sit his ass back down, as I can see now. So ass down, yes, it is. Okay, so is that his best option? It's got to be, because if it wasn't, he would have done it, right? Would have done it. Now, some of you may say, well, oh, maybe I chose to take this class. I've sat here for 2.5 hours now. It's a pain in the butt, mentally and physically, because I'm sitting on my butt. And it's, my butt, I can't even feel my butt right now because I've been sitting so long or whatever, right? And at the end, you said that was a bad choice. It's choice A, B. This was at 2 o'clock, C, D, and E. And choice A is sit my ass down. See, I abbreviate a lot. If you don't follow my whiteboard, you say, what the hell is S mad? That's sit my ass down, choice A. And I choose to do that. I thought that was going to be 90 valuation. And my B point choice B, Rohan, is choosing to do that right now. Sleeping, nap. I thought this was going to be like 88. And 82, 81, 25, whatever. And in any case, I choose to do this one, right? But then at the end, which is right now is 4:35, give or take 2.5 hours you've been sitting, okay? And your valuation, revised valuation becomes, well, Oak's class sucked. I mean, what the hell is he talking about? Ranting the whole entire time. So this is actually 42. But Rohan knows in his heart that this is still going to be 88 if he were to do it. It's 82, 81, 25. Nothing has changed. And he's like, man, I wish I had gone to sleep. All right. I wish I had gone to sleep because 88 beats 42, obviously. I wish I had gone to sleep. Oops. What the hell am I doing here? 88 would beat 42. Right. Isn't that kind of hindsight? Right. Hindsight is 20/20. So I'm not saying that at the end of the whole thing you'd be met with certainty that the benefit will outweigh the cost. But the point is that the time that you made the decision, which was when 2 o'clock, you think at that point that the benefits of doing so are going to outweigh the cost of doing so, right? So that's what benefit outweighing cost means. Questions. So I think I addressed that point to a certain extent. Questions. No questions. Just point 2. I have maybe half an hour. I'm going to move on to point 3. I think I can finish point 3. So point 3, that was opportunity cost. Any question about opportunity cost? No questions. Okay, I'm going to point 3. Remember 5 principles. 1 was trade-off. 2 was opportunity cost. 3. There are 2 points in point 3, actually. So 1 is about being rational, which is by and large not anything further from what we have already discussed, right? So in a way, the word rational is just a word that I'm going to use to describe what we have discussed before, right? But here's a new term, marginal thinking. Now, if you take in micro, I hope and trust that you've heard marginal everything under the sun. I mean, it's like economist obsession. and Jocelyn is going to have an econ minor. She's going to face a lot more marginal whatever. But I have to talk about this, even if you have some good understanding of it. Hopefully, if you have some good understanding of this, I'm not going to make it more confusing or something. But marginal thinking and rational thinking. So first of all, let me explain rational the way that I just explained, actually. Right. So first of all, the claim is this: people are always rational at all time, and I'm kind of cutting to the chase here. Now, if you have any argument or any debate with this, have some in mind and maybe write it up, and I'll take any counter argument that I can take, any debate, because it's always a point to be made. But I have half an hour. I'm gonna say what I have to say for the time being anyway, because I have to cover these. So rational means the following. If you disagree, maybe give me some better definition. Rational means the following. If the benefit outweigh the cost, you do it. And if the benefit is less than the cost or is being outweighed by the cost, you don't do it. Does that sound like rational to you guys? That sound like rationality, what rationality means? Right? You take some actions, you don't take some actions, and the actions that you don't take, if you're rational, that is, it's because the cost outweigh the benefit. And if you take some action, it's because the benefit outweigh the cost, at least at the time that the decision and the action was taken and made. Right? This is what rational means. Right? Now, if this is the definition of rationality, then we cannot even take any irrational action. It's not even possible by that definition, because go back to this again, see all this benefit and cost, because when you take some action back to, I think this was, where the hell am I? Where the hell's Oak's decision? I think this is Oak. Nope. This is not bad. I can scroll back to anything I want. You know, the physical limitation of in class is that the board is limited. I have to keep erasing. I'm not erasing anything here. So back to Oak here in blue. Here's my decision. Right. Anytime I take an action, I get a benefit that outweigh the cost. Right. And the point there is that the benefit and cost are judged by the action. You heard of the term of the phrase "actions speak louder than words," right? Do I complain at the end of 3 hours? Man, my back hurts, dude. My butt, I can't even feel my butt. And I've been yelling for 3.5 hours. It's just a pain in the butt or whatever, right? I may complain, but the complaint already has taken into account the value of that class. Is that right? Because I take salary, I take other things. The point is that 95 there has the negative side in it, right? And when I take that action, it suggests that the benefit of this, the value of doing this, outweigh the cost of doing it, namely whatever else I'm giving up, correct? So we judge the benefit and the cost by action. So now back to rationality. Can you see this? The point is actually backwards, because if you see that I did it, you can infer from that the benefit must outweigh the cost, right? I mean, isn't that what we learned? And if you see that I didn't do it, you can infer that the cost outweighs the benefit, right? So therefore, any action taken by anyone is always rational, without judging. Now, Glenn might say, raise his hand again, no, that's not exact science. Maybe some people take, or something like that. Nope, because remember, individuals are the one making decisions, right? And in the mind of that individual, you don't know unless you're him or her, correct? Like right now, I have no idea, absolutely no idea why you're sitting your ass down still. Like if I were you guys, I might have just left, right? If I remember when I was a student, I left all the time. Like I just stood up and left. You see the point I'm trying to make though? That is, when any individual is making a decision, it's only that individual who knows the benefits and the cost, correct? Right? So without judging, anyone who takes any action is always taking a rational action. There's no irrational action being taken. Because if you take any irrational action, it means you did it, even though the cost outweigh the benefit. But it can't be, because if you took it, it must be that the benefit outweigh the cost. We just learned that from up here, right? You get it? So that's the key in rationality. Now, this has a deep meaning to it, and this is why I go to something that some people don't like, and you know, sometimes in class, you know, sometimes I say things inappropriate. Well, maybe you don't know this yet, but I say inappropriate things sometimes in class, and it ends up offending some people. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend anyone, but you know, I just want to raise certain examples that are sharp in terms of point. So, you know, people who smoke crack, maybe. And when I say that, usually say, well, no, you can't talk about it. I'm going to talk about that in class. Why not? You know some crackheads, maybe not personally, but, you know, if you live in, I don't know where you live, and maybe, you know, in Altoona, in wherever you live, but in Philly, you walk down maybe, I don't know, 5 blocks, you see some people smoking crack, and it's not good. You would say that, I don't want to do that, right? So you don't do that. And I would assume that none of you does that, which is rational because the cost to you outweigh the benefit to you in smoking the crack, right? You're smoking the crack. See, I'm saving myself here because I didn't write that down on the board. I say STC, that's smoking the crack, right? Do you guys do it? Glenn, do you do it? Thank you. So is it because the cost outweigh the benefit? Yeah, sure. Jocelyn, do you do it? No, she doesn't because the cost outweigh the benefit. Is that rational to not do it? Yeah. See, back to this. You don't do it when the cost outweigh the benefit. See that? So that's totally rational to not do it. So not taking the action of not taking the action, that sounds confusing, but it's actually true. Taking the action of not smoking the crack, that is totally rational because the cost of it outweigh the benefit of it, right? So therefore, you don't smoke the crack. Here's the non-crackheads, which include Jocelyn and Glenn and a bunch of me, Oak, here too. Just to clarify. Now, there's some people who said the green light to smoking the crack. They smoke the crack. Are they irrational? See, if you judge, you tend to think, well, these guys are irrational. Is that right? I mean, people are bound to judge, and they judge a lot, and we do judge a lot, right? But isn't it true that if they choose to do the action, we have to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that the benefit for them outweigh the cost to them, right? I'll get to that secondhand smoke. That's a good point. So in any case, the smoking up, well, maybe secondhand smoke is only, you mean cigarettes or secondhand smoking the crack? Actually, that's no difference. But I'll get to secondhand smoke a little bit. So the point is that you choose to not smoke the crack because, you choose to not smoke the crack, which is rational. This is rational, right? Because the cost outweigh the benefit. What about the crackheads? Are they rational in smoking the crack? Yeah, they're rational. Why is that? Because to them, the benefit outweigh the cost, right? Now, you may say, what is the benefit of smoking the crack? I don't know. Let me go back to the question I asked earlier. What is the benefit of being in class? I don't know, right? I mean, to not judge, if you don't want to judge, right? I don't know your benefit. I don't know your cost. I can only judge from what? Your action. And your action of being in class tells me that the benefit of being in class outweigh the cost of being in class. What about the crackhead? It tells me that the
question. So like,
yes.
Are you like trying to say that it's like rationality is like just subjective to everyone? Like
correct. Okay. Correct. Because rationality concerns action, right?
Yeah.
Right. Because the choice to act and the choice to not act belongs to the person. Agree?
Yeah.
Right. So when you're saying that, this is why meaning what you say is important, because when you're saying that the crackhead is, and the reason I'm picking crackhead is because I trust and hope that none of you are crackheads. So, you know, let's just get that out of the way. And people tend to, if you tend to judge the crackheads, you tend to say, well, crackheads are irrational. But that would be saying that according to your benefit and according to your cause, smoking crack is irrational, right?
Yeah.
Right. But that says nothing about the rationality of the crackheads. It only says something about the rationality on whose part? Your part, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you're right. Rationality concerns the action, but the action is taken by the individual. So here's the analytical part of things and the subjective part of things. Anytime anyone does anything, X, I don't care what X is, doing ecstasy or whatever, crack or whatever. Anytime anyone does anything, call it X. It must be rational to do so. And anytime anyone chooses not to do Y, it must be that not doing it is also rational, right? The point is that it belongs to the person. And when I talk about the benefit, if I did this, benefit outweigh cost. If I didn't do this, the cost outweigh the benefit. When we talk about the benefit and the cost in red, oops, the benefit and the cost, these are all subjective. Is that right? I mean, this is why I define this in terms of valuation. Remember the term value. Value is subjective. Do I know your value of the crack? I don't. Do I know the value of your sleep? I don't. Do I know the value of the class to you? Do I know the cost of time, Rohan, that you have to give up in order to be in this class? I don't. Can I judge you? I can't. Now back to the crackhead or to the ecstasy person with the X here, whatever. It doesn't matter what the action is. And this is the essence of not judging. And I think the hardest thing to learn econ is to not judge, because this has a deep meaning here. Rationality belongs to the person, and therefore when someone does something, all you can say is, well, that's rational to him. The benefit of smoking the crack must outweigh the cost, whatever the cost may be, right? So did I clarify the point, Rohan? Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So this is going to be the hard part too, because going down the road, we're inclined to judge other people, right? This is why I brought up crack, because we always judge the crackheads. I mean, they can't be rational. And if you go out of this class and try to tell other people that, hey, I learned in econ class that crackheads are rational, they would think you're crazy, right? Seriously, they would think you're crazy, but I mean, that's true. I mean, if you really mean what you say, it's actually true that they're rational when they smoke the crack. Or you don't have to go that far. You try to tell them the following, that, for example, you could say, well, being in Oak's class for 3 hours, sitting in my ass for 3 hours, listening to boring econ lectures for 3 hours straight was the best decision I could ever make. They would think you're crazy, but that has to be true, because if it wasn't the best, you would have left by now, right? Now, I want to address Tinash's point. Now, I'm sure I'm watching the pronunciation of your name, but what about secondhand smoke? If you secondhand smoke, yeah, I'm trying to move things on my laptop again. It doesn't work that way. So, if you secondhand smoke, the question is, do you stand there or do you leave? You still have a choice, right? So, like, I'm walking by. This happens sometimes at Abington or at any campus. I think you walking right through the door and people are just smoking right in front of the door. And I used to be a smoker myself, so when I see Glenn, I see that you're smoking sometimes. I just light up, like, damn, back in the day, you can't. I couldn't even do that in my classroom. These days, you can smoke and be in class at the same time. This is the beauty of Zoom. But in any case, if I walk right by the door to the building and people are smoking, I have a choice, right? I have a choice to not walk through. I have a choice to go around. Now, you may say it's a pain in the butt to go around. Why do we have to do that? You don't. But the question is, do I walk through, just walking through the smoke? This is your point, walking through the smoke. That's always abbreviating stuff. The benefit here is the cost. What is the benefit? It saves you time because, what's the other choice? You walk around the building and go through the other door or something, or you climb up the windows or whatever. It's kind of hard. What is the cost of it? Well, you have to go around. If the benefit of walking through the smoke is more than the cost, you choose to do it. Is that rational? Well, if you walk through it, then it's rational, right? So no matter what you choose to do, there's some benefit and there's some cost. Secondhand smoke doesn't mean that the cost all of a sudden is too big for you to walk through it, right? If you end up doing it, you're still rational in doing so. So hopefully I'm addressing your point there. Questions? No questions. Okay, good. Now, I'm not even going to be able to finish point 3 because I have 10 minutes, and I'm sure that, in class, maybe you guys can't do it you have to, some students in class, they just do it. They just, look at the clock like this in front of me and oh, it's about time. We have to dismiss the class here. And you guys are behind blank space. You can't really remind me. Some of you, like Glenn and Jocelyn, might be able to. Oh, it's time or something. I have 10, 15 minutes, maybe maximum. The other point was marginal thinking, if you remember. Marginal thinking. So what's this? Here's the benefit. Here's the cost. Let me give you some example of what I have debated with other people. So everyone, well, not everyone, but most people these days, they care about the environment. They want to clean the air. See, he got up his ass. He can actually sit down and smoke at the same time. What the hell are you going off? I mean, I'd understand if you, the hell, dude. Okay, so we want to clean the world. And you know how clean air, so I just mentioned the word clean air. I would be thinking about, well, the clean air, there's some cost to clean air. They're like, you know, if we clean the air, does it cost you? Does clean air come free? I guess that's my question. Oh, wait, there's a different version of Glenn. I'm sorry, I had to make that remark. I don't know why. Oh, hey, Glenn, I thought you had transformed yourself. I'm sure that's your better half. Okay, or whatever. I'm sorry, I shouldn't even make that comment, but I can't stop myself. See, okay, so you know that cleaning the air is gonna be some cost, right? Nothing is free. Nothing is free. If you start trying to clean the air, does it cost you something? If you recycle stuff, does it cost you anything? Yeah, you know, you have to like gather the paper and, you know, gather the plastic, reuse the plastic, whatever the hell you do. There's some benefit, right? Because you have cleaner air and cleaner water and cleaner whatever. All nice. Here's the problem with non-economists, I think. They tend to focus on the benefit about clean air. Here's the benefit of clean air. And they tend to minimize the cost. At least they don't talk about it so much. And they tend to assume that the benefit of cleaning is more than the cost of cleaning. So anytime any economist like me, see, economists, we had a saying. So optimist talking only about the benefits. This is optimist. Pessimist, the pessimist talking only about the cost. That's the pessimist. What about the economist? We talk about benefit and cost. See, that's what economists do. Now, sometimes I have something like this with the environmentalist, and they tend to say, well, oh, we want clean air. And I'm like, well, what about the cost of cleaning the air? You know, you can't just clean air. There's some cost to it, right? And, you know, we would debate for, I don't know, 50 minutes, and they would be like, Oak, do you just hate clean air or something? You must hate clean air. This is why you don't want to clean the air or whatever. And to that, I'm saying, well, there's cost of cleaning the air. It could outweigh the benefit, right? Now, the point I want to offer to you in terms of marginal thinking is this. Here's a spectrum of cleanliness. Here's the cleanest air possible. Here's the dirtiest air possible. When the environmentalist asked me the question, Oak, you just hate clean air or something? That is a question that cannot be analytically answered. That is a question that cannot be analytically answered, because what does clean mean? Isn't that subjective? I don't know what clean means. Is that, okay, I'll do this in red. Is that clean to me? So suppose this was 100 and this is 0 in terms of the cleanliness scale. Is that clean? Is 82 clean? What about, I don't know, maybe 50 is clean? Maybe 25 is clean? What's my point? My point is, I don't know what clean means. Okay, there's only marginal thinking. What is marginal thinking? Marginal thinking as a little bit more or a little bit less. Can you repeat that again? Marginal thinking means, here's marginal thinking. Marginal thinking means a little bit more versus a little bit less. Not all or nothing. Now, let's investigate this term clean again. Can you see the following? The term clean has an all or nothing aspect to it, because what is the only alternative to clean? Dirty, right? The air is either clean or dirty, and that's only how many options? 2 options. That is all versus nothing, right? So the marginal thinking means the following. Taking note. The marginal thinking means nothing is all or nothing. Everything is more. Is more versus less. More versus less. The only way to answer this question analytically is ask, is the air cleaner or dirtier, right? So the question of clean air doesn't even make any sense. No one can answer that question because everyone has different definition of what clean means. However, if you change the question to cleaner versus dirtier, then that question becomes analytical, right? That's what marginal thinking means. Cleaner, because look, cleaner can be measured in some way. Cleaner can say, you know, we have 10 germs today and 12 germs tomorrow. That's dirtier. If we have like 6 germs tomorrow, then that's cleaner versus 10 germs, right? So the point is that cleaner can be measured in some way. Clean can't be measured because it's all or nothing, right? So marginal thinking means more versus less, as opposed to all versus nothing. Now, here's the gist of the whole thing. I'll spend the last 5 minutes trying to explain what this has to do with anything. Now, remember the benefit and the cost? Do this in black now. Black, dude. Black. So the benefit and the cost becomes the following. The term marginal benefit and the term marginal cost. Now, look, if you took micro, you've heard of marginal revenue and marginal cost and marginal a bunch of other things. Here's 2 things, marginal benefit and marginal cost. Right now, I will say that the marginal benefit of Glenn to appear on the camera is a little bit less than the marginal cost. Therefore, he decided to not. So marginal benefit is, so let me give you the definition of this. See, marginal benefit is outweighing the marginal cost again. Therefore, he comes back. Marginal benefit is additional benefit of doing a little bit more of something. Let me say that again. The marginal benefit of any activity is the additional benefit of doing a little more of something. So in the context of cleaning, the marginal benefit is the additional benefit of cleaning a little bit more. Like if you were to clean 5 more germs, what is the additional benefit of doing so? What about the marginal cost? The marginal cost is additional expense. I'm going to use Glenn's term, additional cost or additional expense of doing a little bit more of something, namely back to the cleaning of the 5 germs. If I were to clean 5 more germs, what is the additional cost of cleaning just those 5 germs and those 5 germs alone, right? So here I'm going to do the following. If I'm cleaning 5 germs, I just made that up. I'm just going to get rid of 5 germs. There's going to be some cost, right? That's the marginal cost. Suppose this was 20. There's going to be some benefit, right? That's the marginal benefit. Suppose those were 25. If that's the case, should I clean the 5 germs? Yes. But if, God forbid, this is only 15 and this is 20, should I clean the germs? No. Right. So the point is, rationality, when you guys are rational, not only do you think about benefit and cost, you think about the additional benefit and the additional cost. To put this in the context of Glenn going back and forth between sitting down and standing up, which you were doing. So I'm going to use you as my example. So it's the marginal benefit of marginal benefit and marginal cost of sitting down, sitting your ass down. And when he was, the marginal benefit of sitting down is X, beat the Y, all good, right? He keeps sitting down and sitting down and sitting down and sitting down and sitting down, and something happened. I don't know what happened about 5 minutes ago. What did you do, Glenn? You stood up. I would assess that when you stood up, it's the marginal benefit of sitting down, sitting your ass down, but now it's being beaten by the marginal cost of sitting your ass down. Therefore, he stood up. Therefore, namely, he's not sitting his ass down anymore. So he switched back and forth. See this? Back and forth between sitting his ass down and not. Back and forth and back and forth. What happened during the time? At some point, the marginal benefit of it exceeds the marginal cost of it. He sits down. At other point, the marginal cost of it exceeds the marginal benefits of it. He stands up. Right? And that's marginal benefit, not total, not just any benefit, not just any cost, but marginal, right? Like, if I keep doing this until 7 o'clock in the evening, who's going to sit down until 7 o'clock? Let's see the hand here. No, I see no hand, hopefully. No one's that crazy. Except maybe Shut up, Glenn. You're lying. Except maybe Jocelyn, because she's crazy enough to take econ as a minor. But other than these two, who's sitting down for the next 2 hours with me? I would be. I mean, I'm crazy about this thing anyway. Who would be sitting down? No one. Thank you. So at some point, even those of you who've been sitting down this whole entire time would think that this is true, and you would just stand up at some point and say, you know what? Screw this. I gotta leave, man. Right? But that's marginally, right? That's more or less, not all or nothing. Not like I'm going to sit until the end of time or something. At some point, you say, you know what? Marginal cost is a little bit much now. I'm just going to leave. So that's what thinking on the margin or marginal thinking means. Questions? All right. So I'm going to stop here. This is only 3. And actually, to be fair, I'm not even done with 3. But